Hi, welcome. Today I want to share this process I've written about. It's been a pretty popular article of mine, so I thought I would make a video out of it for those who aren't readers as much and prefer getting content through video. Today is about how I figure out my fuck yes versus my fuck no, even in the most challenging situations. By now, many of you probably have heard of Mark Manson. If you haven't, that's okay. You can look him up after this. He's an amazing writer. He wrote an article a while back called Fuck Yes or No. And he explains the importance of knowing what our fuck yes and our fuck no are, particularly in dating. He elaborates on one question: why would we even consider being with someone who's lukewarm about us or with whom we feel lukewarm about? When I read this article several years ago now, it triggered this insight in me, and I'm like, I'm done with that. I'm done with being lukewarm about stuff, about anything, whether it's relationships, career choices, friendships, living situations, anything like that. It was incredibly empowering to realize this in my body. But then life crept back in. I would think, what if I'm a yes about some parts, say of a person or a job, and I'm a no about other parts? What if I can't tell the difference between what my yes and my no are? What if it's just too confusing to discern? So old patterns reared their ugly heads, but this is how life is most of the time. Most of the time, we live in the gray. We live in not necessarily the lukewarm, but we live in the in-between of a very clear yes and a very clear no. So then if I'm not able to know what my yes and my no are, how do we figure that out? The first step that I do to actually figure out what my yes and my no are in any situation is I just tune into how my body feels. This might be obvious for some of you, right? If this is really obvious, then congratulations. You are probably pretty emotionally aware, emotionally attuned. You grew up in an environment that facilitated that emotional awareness. This is more for the people who didn't necessarily have that environment growing up and really struggle with tuning into their body and tuning into an authentic yes and no. In order to feel what is actually going on, the first thing we need to do is to just slow down and to get present. This is where a lot of people get blocked because we live in a very fast-paced world. It's really easy to get caught up in all the things to do, all of your to-do lists, all of the opportunities to be out in the world to engage with, all the things to watch on the news, on social media, all of the messaging coming from your friends and family. It can be a lot in itself just to slow down and get present, but that is a crucial first step. When we can slow down and get present with how we're actually feeling, we can tune into these textures, these emotions, these sensations, these signals in our body. That's where that information arises from that body-informed decision making. So you can do this in obviously many ways. I'm not going to go into that as much in this video. The second step, as I previously mentioned, is actually allowing the sensation to arise. And this again can be a struggle for a lot of people. If you're habituated to suppressing or dulling certain emotions like anger or sadness or any emotion you're uncomfortable with, even joy. A lot of people cap their joy because they learned somewhere along the way that it's not appropriate to be so exuberant or so joyful. And there's a lot of practices for this that I can share if you're interested in another video. But suffice to say, the second step is to actually permit or allow the sensation to arise, whatever it is. Even if it's sensation you don't like, if it's not your preference, that's probably even better to allow that to arise. There are two kind of main obstacles in this area, and I'll just touch on them really briefly. So one is trauma. When people don't actually feel safe in their body. And again, this is very common. If you've gone through any kind of traumatic experience, whether it's acute or accumulated, it can be really hard to allow yourself to feel sensation in the body. So if this might be you, or if it is you, then definitely get a therapist, a coach, a somatic therapist, embodiment coach, someone you can trust to help facilitate this process. The other obstacle can be negligence, which is a form of trauma, but it's almost can be seen as the opposite side, where we learn to just ignore everything that our body feels, or most things that our body is feeling. If we learn to ignore our body's signals from a very young age, it can again take a little work to get rid of the numbness, get rid of the frozenness or the dissociation in the body. As we allow sensation to arise, we notice that there are patterns, there are tendencies for most people on what your yes and your no generally feel like. And again, this is a generalization. There is nuance and subtle texture differences for different people. Generally speaking, our yes will light us up. It will be liberating. It will feel clarifying. It will feel enlivening, right? There will be a sense of vitality with it. On the other side, our no, our authentic no, there will be some kind of wall that we feel. There will be maybe even a shutting down of energy. There will be a contraction, whereas a yes will be more of an expansion. A no will generally be more of a contraction, more of a tenseness or a pulling back. A yes will be a moving towards. A no can be more of a pulling back. And again, this is really general, and it's really easy to clarify in extreme examples. Again, we want to pull apart that in the messiness of day-to-day life. The next step is tuning into your no. This can be done a lot of ways. If it's hard for you to do on your own, again, reach out to someone that you can trust to help facilitate this for you and guide and give prompting questions. But one thing, if you can do this for yourself, is to just ask yourself questions where you were really clear about a no. Maybe it was someone asking you on a date and you were very clear you were not into them, or a friend violated a boundary, or you got a job offer with like a ridiculously low wage. So some instance where you had a very, very clear no, right? So we're getting into that extreme, so you can tune into that in your body. And then from there, notice what you actually feel in your body. Notice if you feel a pulling back, if you feel a contraction, if you feel anything that I listed earlier. Then the next step is your yes. Just like we did for the no, you're going to tune into some memory or something that happened where you were a total yes, where you were really, really clear that this was a yes. Maybe it was getting a puppy, maybe a marriage proposal, a holiday in Greece, or winning some kind of competition, or getting that pay raise that you know you deserved. So again, tune into your body and just notice how you feel. If there's a sense of lightness, if there's a sense of excitement or clarity or direction, a sense of aliveness, a sense of liberation. Whatever that feels like, whatever you notice in your body, that's part of your yes. Now, these might seem really obvious, but it's really important to break these things down to the simplest ways of tuning into it so that it does get easier in the messiness, in the gray areas where most of life happens. So the next step, step 5, is discerning life's gray areas. This is where most of life happens. Very little in life is clear-cut and exact. Our logical minds like to believe otherwise, but our bodies remind us that that's not generally the case. Life as we know it, with all its beauty, complexity, diversity, confusion, options, this is where we get to play. So try this. Think of something you're currently trying to sort out in your life. It can be something really basic, like, should I get the new phone or should I wait? Or you can go deeper, tuning into someone you're considering dating or going further in a relationship, a job opportunity, a big move across the country or across the world. Maybe you have a great job opportunity, but it requires you to move away from your friends and family. So you could be a yes about the job itself, the pay, the type of job, but you feel, no, I don't want to leave my friends and family. Whatever you've got in mind, close your eyes and feel what is there in your body. Feel all the complexity, all the diversity in your body, and start noticing what exactly feels like a yes and what exactly feels like a no. Perhaps in regards to dating, you're a yes about his ambition, his drive, his direction in life, but you're a no about him not wanting children. If it helps, it can also be incredibly helpful to write this out. So write a yes column, write a no column, and then write an I don't know column in the middle. And as you're tuning into your body, write out whatever comes up. So start with something that is a little easier to access, like not as big of a decision that you're trying to make, then work your way into the more challenging decisions that you're trying to make. So that's the process I use, and I use with all of my clients to discern what their yes feels like and what their no feels like. And then sometimes when we are working through really difficult, messy stuff, it does take a little bit more time, but that's because there's more moving pieces. It's natural for that to take a little more time. So sometimes it's also necessary to sit in the I don't know yet. And this is where a lot of people find a lot of discomfort because our mind, again, loves to know an answer and often will leap to a conclusion before we've actually fully asked ourselves and given ourselves the space to provide a body-informed, authentic decision. So I hope you found this helpful. I would love to read your comments below and let me know anything that came up for you. If you have any questions, let me know. And if you have any requests on other videos, also let me know. Until next time.